So Sarah and I have been making our breakfast skillets a lot here lately, and a lot of people have been liking them. So figure we'd do a quick video this morning just showing how we do these. This is going to happen pretty fast, really, because I did a couple things first, which would help yours as well. First thing, I got the skillet over here, and it's hot. It's getting hot. I added some butter to it. I microwaved these potatoes for 5 minutes. That way you don't have to wait for the potato to cook in the skillet, and it makes this whole thing go a lot faster. Onions, some kale. You don't have to have that. You can use spinach. If you don't want to put any of that in, that's fine. Potatoes, your meat, and some eggs. Now these are farm fresh. These are in Sarah's little bucket that she just got, I guess, yesterday. If you don't have farm fresh eggs, get some chickens. That's pretty much the quickest way to get a farm fresh egg. So I'm going to put in these onions first. I just roughly chop these onions. That makes this video go a little bit faster, and you don't need to see me chopping onions. Surely you've got, if you cook, you've got that part of it down. But I want those to go for about a minute or so before I add anything else. Keeping in mind that when you add these potatoes, they're going to start to soak up all the liquid in the skillet, whatever that liquid is, butter, oil, whatever you have. So really you want your onions to cook for a minute before you add these. Just kind of rough chop these potatoes. You could make these like more into hash browns if you wanted and shred them. Just microwaving them ahead of time makes this whole process go much faster than if you're going to sit there and wait for these potatoes to cook, especially if you've got them in pretty good sized pieces like this. They'd take a month of Sundays to cook in that skillet if you did that. So I just rough chop those. On this kale, you don't probably have to pull these stems out. These are pretty good sized leaves. Sarah grew these in her garden, so I'm gonna pull them out just so you don't get a lot of those tough stems in there. But anyway, just pull those out. These are probably gonna be the last thing that we add before we add the eggs, because your kale will cook down really super fast. So all I did was take those stems out of that. Give that a rough little chop. Really, they're gonna cook down a bunch, so that doesn't matter so much. Make sure that all your onions are covered in the butter. Turn the heat up pretty high on this because you want this to go fast. This is some carnitas meat that we had left over from having Mexican food Friday night. We've used the leftover steak. We've used, I mean, you name it, bacon, sausage, any of that. Those are typically not leftover. We've even used geta. Like I said, just some leftover carnitas. This has some of the green sauce on it that was in the on the plate with the carnitas the other night. That'll be good on there too. So probably save that sauce that's in this pan and pour that over it at the end. Again, kind of the same cut that I put on the potatoes. Just cut across it. Cut those into a few small pieces, about yay big. Got a boning knife here. Sarah and I kind of use whatever knife we tend to grab, so probably a regular kitchen knife a little bit better for this kind of work. But so we've got our onions. They've been going for a minute. They're of course not cooked through yet, but they're going to cook when we add this. Now there's going to be a fair amount. Always keep in mind the meat that you're using, what kind of fat is in that meat, because that's going to cook off. This is carnitas, of course, pork. It's going to have a lot of fat in it. So I'm not adding any more oil to this just yet until I see what renders out of this carnitas. So you just kind of toss all this together. No right or wrong way to do this. We also have a little bit of cheese over there. You might want to bring that over here so you can see the skillet. Everything's going to go on right here. Again, the potatoes are already cooked, so they don't have to do a whole lot. You've got your onions and your meat in there now. Now when you're doing this, all you're kind of doing is heating this through at this point, because those onions, you'll start to see those onions are already starting to get translucent. But so then you take your greens. This is not a lot of greens, but if you want a lot of greens, put a lot more greens in there. Sprinkle those over the top. Just making sure you don't have any real giant pieces. And then You're going to give this just a second. You're going to pull out a few of your farm fresh eggs here. Just give that a minute for a little of that fat to render out. And then kind of toss this on. You'll see this kale cook down real fast. Matter of fact, we just had some of this, what, Thursday night? You did some of that kale?
Yep.
That will cook down quick. So you notice I haven't salt and peppered it yet. I will here in just a minute. Make you a couple of openings in here for your eggs. We usually, when we're doing these, just do the eggs sunny side up because I don't try and flip them once they're in there. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in there with it that makes it kind of hard to flip. But hopefully those don't break. 2 for 2 so far, honey.
Doing good. Ooh.
Oh, look at that. So now, got my eggs in there. Got my kale in there. Got my meat. We'll just go back and give this some salt. Kind of hard to accurately do it with this little spoon thing, but it works fine. What's even more hard to accurately do is when you're pouring the pepper out of the bottle. So that goes like so. If you've got a little garlic powder right at hand, we had our garlic powder in case someone breaks in, tries to take over. We put it under the label of smoked paprika. And then, of course, I do like smoked paprika, so I'll hit it with a little bit of that. Adds a little color, a little bit of flavor. Those eggs are only going to take a couple of minutes. We have some cheese. This is a wiener amount of cheese, boy. I mean, bad. That's what we got. I mean, what the heck. But that is a wiener amount of cheese. So I take this. You'll notice too that, especially on these skillets and on your burners, you're always going to have burners that cook faster than others on certain sides. You don't have your pan centered. So this egg over here is getting done way faster than this one. If you see that, kind of just adjust everything around. I have this tiny little, practically worthless amount of cheese. I'll do my best to just go right over the top with that. That's going to absolutely make no difference in the flavor of this. 3 strands of shredded cheese. But, oh my gosh. But anyway, hey, we're on fixed income. We do have mozzarella. Bring that over here. Let's add a little more cheese to that.
At least it'll make us feel good.
At least it'll make us feel good about ourselves. And it'll make a nice stringy little cheese right over the top. So much for that cheddar. Now we'll come back in here with a wee little bit of this mozzarella. You can also add a little hit of Parmesan at the end of this. That makes for a real nice little flavor. And it looks nice on the plate as well. So, there you go. There's your breakfast skillet. This is basically ready. This egg needs to cook just a hair longer. This one's basically done. That one's done. If you're doing these eggs sunny side up, you want that center to still be soft, but the edge is basically cooked. You could go in there right now and flip these. If you want them over medium, just go in there and flip them. It's not going to hurt anything. But we just go sunny side up. Leaves them kind of nice and runny for this action. So anyway, there you go. There's our world famous breakfast skillet. Use whatever kind of meat you want. Go ahead and microwave those potatoes ahead of time. This is going to be delish, and it happened that fast. I'm turning that off.